New York, 1925. The city roars with horns and bright marquees, fortunes made and lost in a single afternoon. And in a quiet room above the noise, an illustrator with calm eyes teaches people how to change the outcome of their lives. Not with schemes, not with secrets, with words, intention, and the courage to act as if the result is already on its way. Her name is Florence Scovel Shinn. She wasn't born into money. She didn't inherit a stage or a pulpit. She learned to see, first as an artist, then as a student of human nature, and she noticed something the world still forgets. The mind is an instrument, and most of us never learn how to tune it. She was born in Camden, New Jersey, and trained as an artist in Philadelphia. She moved to New York, illustrated books, and married a fellow creative. On paper, it looked promising. But life did what life does. It rearranged the picture. The marriage ended. Security vanished. Friends drifted. The bank balance thinned. And that is where her story truly begins. Not in certainty, but in the ruins of it. Florence started with the smallest lever available to anyone: speech. She experimented with language like a craftsperson with tools. When fear rose, she wouldn't fight it. She would name the outcome she intended and speak to it with authority. Calm, simple, unwavering. She noticed that when her words changed, her posture changed. When posture changed, courage showed up. And when courage showed up, opportunities answered, sometimes quietly, sometimes with the force of a door flying open. People found her. Not because she chased them, but because result after result walked around the city telling her story. A woman who could never land an apartment suddenly received a key. An actor who'd stopped auditioning found himself cast after declaring out loud, "The right role is already looking for me." A shop owner on the edge of collapse began each morning with firm, clear statements of solvency and service, and little by little, customers returned. Florence didn't call it magic. She called it alignment. Words, emotion, action, moving in the same direction. She distilled what she saw into a simple practice. Speak as if the outcome is certain. Move as if you expect to meet it. Release the worry that tries to cancel your order halfway to delivery. And pay attention to intuition, the quiet instruction that tells you to turn down a street you never walk. Call a person you haven't called. Send a letter you've been avoiding. She often said intuition is the voice that arrives before evidence, and evidence tends to follow it. By the mid-1920s, she published a small book with a large title, The Game of Life and How to Play It. It was not a manual for greed. It was a manual for clarity. She wrote about the power of definite words. Not "I wish," but "I choose." Not someday, but today I align. She taught the discipline of the tongue, how casual fear turns into expensive outcomes, and how unguarded jokes can talk us into a future we don't want to live in. People were shocked by how direct she sounded. She wasn't trying to soothe anyone into comfort. She wanted to wake them into authority. And still, she wasn't a preacher of passivity. Florence insisted on action. If your words say, "I am ready," your feet should move. Make the call. Apply for the job. List the product. Show up early. Bring excellence to the smallest task in front of you and watch how the larger request begins to recognize your name. She urged people to forgive debtors and competitors, not as a moral performance, but as a practical releasing of energy. The mind that holds grudges has no hands left to receive. Her second book sharpened the point. Your word is not a candle you wave in the dark. It's the wand you use to direct your attention. Where attention rests, life follows. She urged people to bless money when it left their hands and to welcome it when it returned, clean, clear, with a job to do. She believed giving was not subtraction, but circulation. When done with wisdom, it made room for more. Skeptics said it sounded naive. Florence answered with stories, not arguments. The tailor who couldn't sell a single suit, speaking daily to his empty shop as if it were full, then acting like a business that deserved traffic, sweeping the floor, improving the display, writing thank you notes to past customers, and finding, week by week, that the world responded to the way he carried himself. The widow who declared dignity over her finances and refused to rehearse panic to her friends, who then received a letter about an overlooked account that stabilized her entire year. The student who replaced "I'm unlucky" with "I am perfectly placed for the right opportunity," and within a month met the mentor who accelerated everything. Florence taught that words plant seeds, actions water them, patience gives them weather, and harvest arrives when you stop digging up the soil to check whether the roots exist. Here is what made her a pioneer. She taught prosperity before it was fashionable, before the seminar industry, before viral quotes on clean backgrounds. She taught in living rooms and rented halls, like a friend who refuses to flatter you because she respects you too much. And then she did something unusual for someone with influence. She kept her life simple. She didn't build a cult. She left room for people to outgrow her voice and find their own. So what does her method look like for us? Here, now, when the feed is loud, when anxiety is contagious, when money feels like a game controlled by distant hands. It looks like a practice, not a trick, not a hack, a daily, deliberate way of speaking, acting, and releasing. Begin your morning with a clear declaration. Not a wish, not a plea, an instruction to your day. Say, "Today I act with calm authority. I meet the right people. The right doors recognize me." Then support the words with one bold micro-action within the first hour. Send the email you've delayed. Make the offer. Move the project one tangible step. Words first, action next, anxiety last. Keep a language ledger. Notice the sentences that leak scarcity. That always happens to me. I never get picked. I'm terrible with money. Cross them out. Replace them with sentences that carry weight and responsibility. I am learning faster every week. I manage what I have with skill. I bring value, and I am paid accordingly. The goal is not to live in denial. The goal is to stop acting like a bad narrator for your own life. Build an evidence log. At the end of each day, write the smallest proofs that your words and actions are working. The returned call, the unexpected lead, the idea that arrived in the shower. The brain is wired to remember the emergency and forget the progress. Florence's method retrains it. Practice intelligent generosity. Give where it amplifies dignity, your own and others. Pay the invoice early. Add a note of thanks. Tip like someone you aspire to become. Generosity without wisdom drains. Wisdom without generosity dries. Together they circulate, and then release. Don't stalk outcomes. Don't bargain with time. Don't infect today's work with tomorrow's worry. Say, "What is mine by right of use comes to me easily and in perfect timing." And then put your phone down and do the next beautiful, ordinary task in front of you with excellence. This is not pretending. This is refusing to multiply your fear with your focus. You might ask, if her method is so powerful, why didn't she build an empire with her own name on the door? Maybe because Florence understood something that our era struggles to hear. Wealth is not only a number, it's the ability to meet life with an uncluttered spirit. She wasn't allergic to money. She simply refused to make money her master. She used it the way a craftsperson uses a tool, on purpose, toward something that outlives the hand that holds it. Look closely, and you'll see her fingerprints everywhere, in authors and teachers who came later, in phrases that feel modern but are simply echoes of what she said in small rooms a century ago. She wasn't trying to be ahead of her time. She was trying to be useful in any time. That is why her work keeps resurfacing when people are tired of noise and hungry for clarity. Imagine applying her method to your next decision. Not a year from now. Today. You choose the sentence that points you in the right direction. You take the smallest action that proves you mean it. You refuse to narrate against yourself. You give wisely. You record the evidence. You release the timeline. And you repeat, quietly, consistently, until your results look suspiciously like the sentences you've been speaking. Most people sleepwalk through their days, telling old stories about limits they never re-examined. Florence Scovel Shinn woke people up. She placed the pen back in their hands. She reminded them that the story they tell is not entertainment. It's architecture. If you want a different room to live in, start with different words. If you want a different door to open, knock with a different rhythm. If you want a different outcome with money, learn to treat it like a partner instead of a judge. Give it a job, send it with respect, welcome it with clarity, and never blame it for the work you refuse to do. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a stage. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a sentence you believe, an action you can take today, and the courage to let results arrive on a schedule you do not control. That's how an illustrator became a quiet architect of prosperity. That's how ordinary people in every decade since have used her method to rebuild careers, relationships, businesses, and bank accounts. One word, one act, one day at a time. So ask yourself, right now before the world gets loud again, what is the sentence you will live by this week? Speak it, write it, act on it, hold it lightly, like a seed, and then do the work in front of you with so much care that the future has no choice but to recognize your name when it arrives. That is the game of life, played well. That is prosperity before the crowd notices. And that is the wealth we came here to build, quiet, dignified, and strong enough to carry someone else when they are ready to learn. If Florence's story inspired you to look at prosperity differently, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with someone who's ready to rewrite their own story. Here, we uncover the hidden minds behind true wealth so you can build yours, one choice at a time.